Welcome to Sublation Media, the YouTube channel that is trying to think again. The last 20 plus years have been a mess. Let's walk through them quickly. The century started with the War on Terror, moved on to the economic crisis, social media revolutions, weird populist uprisings, the threat of nuclear war, and then back to the War on Terrorism again. At Sublation Media, we have decided to start over. In 1974, a comedy troupe called the Firesign Theater released an album entitled Everything You Know Is Wrong. On the first track, a man who sounds like nothing other than a radio announcer says, "I don't know how you came by this record, but you are now embarked upon a journey that must certainly lead you to change your life forever. If you were never a special person, you are a special person now." He goes on to say, "Hello, seeker. Now don't feel alone here in the new age, because there's a seeker born every minute." This is not a channel for seekers, but for people who are willing to try to be critical thinkers, to join in and help us think again. To avoid wild speculation, we want to turn to a figure who published a decade before the Firesign Theater album came out, to turn to an admittedly much less jovial man named Theodore Adorno. He warned that the liquidation of theory by dogmatization and thought taboos contributed to a bad practice. And by bad practice, he meant any political or social project that takes for granted that the verdict of history determines the truth of an idea. Put another way, Adorno wanted us to consider the possibility that what we usually think of as established truth is usually just establishment convenience. Hi there, I'm Douglas Lane, the writer and editor behind this YouTube channel, and I'm convinced that along with questioning assumptions, people who want to change society need to think through both sides of political issues to predict unintended consequences and root out what was once called artificial negativity, or the source of pseudo-rebellions that only end up supporting the status quo. For example, it's pretty commonly accepted, especially amongst left-wing radicals, that the best way to create a more equitable and just world is to nationalize as much of life as possible. Electricity, water, roads, media, restaurants, and even sex. The world will be better once the government takes up the task of providing common people with all of these good things. But in the past, socialists opposed people like FDR who wanted to create welfare programs because the old-style socialists believed the way to develop a better and more free society was first to develop an independent working-class movement seeking political power against and not within the state. A few decades back, most socialists thought that welfare would only serve to make the masses docile and dependent. Were they right? It's tough to say, but clearly there's more than one way to think about the issue, and people who have called themselves leftists have thought every which way about it. Or take women's lib. Most people on the left believe that women are an oppressed minority, even when they're in the majority, and as such, they are intrinsically radical. The struggle of women as women is inherently progressive, and anyone who wants to see a better tomorrow must support feminism. And yet, a radical leftist named Juliet Mitchell argued that not all women have the same political aims, and that what she called bourgeois feminism is opposed to universal women's emancipation. The philosopher Simone de Beauvoir once wrote, "I never cherished any illusion of changing women's condition. It depends on the future of labor in the world. It will change significantly only at the price of a revolution in production." That is why I avoided falling into the trap of feminism. More recently, the war in Ukraine, the question of online censorship and hate, the right to bear arms, mass shootings, and a whole assortment of other problems have made it clear that none of the ready-made solutions we're given to solve these social problems are working. So, while we aren't seekers at Sublation, we are trying to become independent thinkers. And in order to do that, we're going to try to begin with the idea that everything we think we know is wrong. So if you're the kind of person who wants to think and question, even while the whole world panics, this is the channel for you. Click the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe to Sublation Media.